In Kingston last month, the 30th anniversary of the disappearance of 2-year-old Amber-Lee was observed. Accompanied by her mother Nicola Kruikshank, stepfather James Gill, and younger brother Danny, the girl vanished without a trace despite an exhaustive search spanning the town, its neighborhoods, and a nearby lake. The case of Amber-Lee Cruickshank stands as one of New Zealand's most enigmatic unsolved mysteries. Delving into its intricate details only reinforces the difficulty of understanding the perplexing circumstances surrounding her disappearance. The young girl was last sighted on October 17, 1992, in the quaint town of Kingston, nestled at the southern edge of Lake Wakatipu. Classified more as a village due to its diminutive size, Kingston housed a mere 360 residents as of 2020, fostering a close-knit community where everyone was familiar with one another. During a critical 30-minute window, Amber-Lee was left unattended. Kingston underwent thorough searches, with every nook and cranny scrutinized for any sign of the little girl, be it a hidden spot or a potential fall location. Despite exhaustive efforts, no hints, traces, or clues ever surfaced. Small wonder. Amber-Lee Rose Cruikshank entered the world in Gore on May 5, 1990 at 2:45 p.m. on a Saturday. Her mother Nicola, who was 22 at the time, insisted on witnessing the birth through a special mirror, an effort to ease her nerves before the arrival of her second child. This practice provided a sense of control for Nicola, particularly since her first childbirth had been arduous. The special mirror played a role in calming Nicola during the birth, and when Amber-Lee made her debut, a profound happiness enveloped her mother, fostering an immediate bond with a newborn. Despite initially considering adoption due to her status as a single mother with limited education and prospects, Nicola's perspective shifted dramatically upon laying eyes on her child. "I remember looking at her for the first time. She was a little miracle. It was a turning point in my life," recalls Nicola Kruikshenk. "It took her 10 days to settle on the name Amber-Lee Rose, with Rose chosen because the baby resembled a delicate rosebud. From birth, Amber-Lee displayed adorable red cheeks, earning her the endearing nickname of Angels and Demons. Amber-Lee transitioned from an endearing baby to a cheerful and talkative little girl. Nicola fondly remembers her as a mischievous chatterbox, describing her as a breath of fresh air. Despite the challenges of being a single mom, Nicola cherished her daughter, highlighting Amber-Lee's close bond with her big brother, Harley. While surrounded by love, Amber-Lee's mother, Nicola, grappled with her own demons, a history of battling drug addiction. Nicola had experienced periods of sobriety, but in 1991, a year after Amber-Lee's birth, she succumbed to a few weeks of turmoil. Eventually, she regained control and returned to a semblance of normalcy, a journey facilitated by James Gill, who would later become her husband. Change of scenery. James, too, faced a challenging and somewhat parallel destiny, perhaps explaining the ease with which he and Nicola connected, sharing an unspoken understanding. In the autumn of 1991, Gill relocated to be with Nicola, and by mid-1992, they welcomed their third child, Danny. However, lingering shadows of the past, embodied by old acquaintances and unwelcome memories, persisted in haunting the family. In response, Nicola and James concluded that it was time to leave their troubles behind and embark on a fresh start. Residing in the town of Ottawa at the time, they made the decision to part ways with their spacious white villa, opting instead to acquire a comfortable motorhome. Their envisioned plan involved a journey to the West Coast, signaling a deliberate move to commence a new chapter in their lives. The journey north. On the Saturday of October 17, 1992, Nicola, James, and their children loaded their belongings into the mobile home and set out on the road. Amber-Lee and Danny were comfortably situated in the bedroom, and the couple optimistically hoped for some rest during the journey. Earlier, they had bid farewell to their eldest son, Harley, who would be staying in Ottawa with a close friend of Nicola's until December to complete a semester of school. Harley was expected to join the family thereafter. James had a friend, Richard Dett, residing in Kingston with his girlfriend, Belinda Sayer. Before embarking on their extensive journey across the country, Gill wished to pay Richard a visit. Given Kingston's proximity, just an hour and a half away, the family quickly reached Richard's house. Their only pit stop was in Mossburn, where they paused to purchase ice cream for Amber-Lee. In Kingston. The journey progressed smoothly except for an unexpected incident near Garston. The rear window of their motorhome, not in the sleeping area for the kids, suddenly shattered, possibly due to the presence of a secured bicycle. The circumstances seemed peculiar, leading Nicola and James to suspect deliberate tampering, despite the absence of other cars or individuals nearby. Upon reaching Kingston, Kruikshank and Gill assessed the damage and discovered glass shards scattered throughout the bedroom. Cleanup would be time-consuming, prompting them to decide to stay overnight at Dett's house. Dett's residence, located at 52 Cornwall Street, was a mere 50 feet from the lakeshore. They parked their trailer on the lawn adjacent to the house. Nicola tended to the recently awakened children, changing them before bringing them inside to meet Richard and Belinda. Spending approximately an hour together, Nicola and Amber-Lee later headed to Lake Wakatipu. Despite the little one's aversion to water and swimming, she reluctantly agreed to the outing. Approaching the shore, Amber-Lee dipped her hand into the water, but recoiled, deeming it too cold. Boat ride. The day, blessed with sunshine and a temperature of 17 degrees Celsius, inspired the family to set up a barbecue by the lakeshore to enjoy the scenic view. Numerous boats floated on the lake, with vacationers engaging in water skiing and fishing. The picturesque day seemed promising, and Nicola successfully persuaded Amber-Lee to join her for a boat ride. My most cherished memory is having her sit on my lap on the boat, sharing laughter, Nicola emotionally recounted during an interview with the Herald. She radiated happiness, with water splashing and sparkling all around. That's the final memory I have of Amber-Lee. Around 7 p.m., the family returned to the beach, and Nicola attended to feeding the children. Simultaneously, James and Richard went to the motorhome to replace the shattered glass with a new one. After completing her tasks, Kruikshank took a shower and decided to take a stroll around Kingston. As she left, she noticed Amber-Lee sitting in the driveway and informed James, who was still cleaning the motorhome, to keep an eye on her. "Where's Amber?" "I came back 30 minutes later," Nicola recounted. "James was just stepping out of the motorhome. He saw me and asked, 'How was your walk?' I replied with something trivial and inquired, 'What are the kids doing?' James mentioned that Danny was in bed, and when asked about Amber's whereabouts, he paused for a moment before saying, 'I think she's been watching TV.' Nicola hurried inside, searched the house, and realized her daughter was not there. I went outside and returned to James, who was sitting with Richard and Belinda on the beach. When I asked if they had seen Amber, they all said no, and I exclaimed, 'Are you kidding me?' That's when panic set in, and we started running up and down the beach, calling out her name." Despite the sun descending towards dusk, Nicola, James, and their friends were far from considering sleep. They tirelessly canvassed the area, knocking on neighbors' doors and inquiring about the whereabouts of the little girl. Hot on their heels. At 9:12 p.m., approximately 1 hour after Amber-Lee was last seen, Nicola dialed 111. The police and a volunteer search and rescue team reached Kingston around 10 p.m. With darkness already prevailing, their efforts that night were limited. The police and searchers scoured the shoreline, streets, and a portion of the woods, postponing the majority of the search until the following dawn. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday, and then throughout Monday, a collective effort involved over 100 people searching within a 5-kilometer radius. Land areas were thoroughly explored, kayakers scanned the water surface, divers inspected the depths, and additional resources like sniffer dogs and a helicopter were deployed. Despite these extensive efforts, Amber-Lee remained elusive. The search was reluctantly called off late Monday night, and the police tentatively concluded that Amber-Lee may have drowned. However, for Nicola and James, the nightmare had only just begun. Step by step. For the following months, we rose at the crack of dawn and tirelessly searched for Amber. Our quest took us everywhere along the railroad tracks, through ravines, gullies. We left no stone unturned, Kruikshank recounts. Their scrutiny extended to the residents of Kingston as well, as they sought any nuances in behavior that might indicate involvement. Each passing day heightened Nicola and James' suspicions, pushing them to the brink of insanity. After 2 months, it became unbearable. Can you fathom that? Nicola reflects. We scoured Kingston exhaustively, interviewing every single person. If you haven't been to Kingston, picture a small village with about 100 houses. It's impossible to get lost. In an effort to find solace amid their grief, the couple erected a plaque in memory of Amber-Lee and planted a linden-bar tree in the lakeside playground, situated approximately 100 meters from where the girl was last seen. Moving on. The subsequent years for the couple unfolded like a haze as they persisted in their search, doing everything within their means to locate the missing girl. At one point, Nicola even sought the guidance of a psychic. She told me that Amber-Lee was dead, essentially insinuating it was my fault, a reprisal from someone in my past. It deeply hurt to hear that, and I had a breaking point that day, Kruikshank recollects. Nicola's battle with addiction proved formidable, gradually leading her into a downward spiral. She lost her job initially, and eventually, leaving the children in James' care, she left home. The downward trajectory culminated in the 40-year-old Kruikshank landing in prison in 2008 on charges of drug trafficking. Honestly, I'm grateful for my time in jail, and I thank the judge for that decision. I know it shook my family, I know it shook my friends. It certainly shook me as well, but I needed it, Nicola admits. Upon her release at the age of 45, Nicola resolved to break free from the grip of drugs, and in the years that followed, she steadfastly kept that promise. She secured a stable job, and 7 years ago, purchased a house. More significantly, she successfully rebuilt relationships with her sons Harley and Danny, as well as Jacob, born a few years after Amber-Lee's disappearance. However, her life remains far from simple. Imagine waking up each day without knowledge of the whereabouts of a cherished family member, a child, or another loved one. It's an agonizing weight mingled with frustration and hopelessness, a reality that persists every second of every day. Operation Oliver. You might be wondering if they are still actively searching for the girl. The answer is yes. In the archives of the Dunedin police station, approximately 30 boxes are labeled Operation Oliver, the ongoing investigation into the disappearance of Amber-Lee since 1992. These boxes contain hundreds, if not thousands, of files comprising interview results with Kingston Township residents, letters, photographs, and various documents indirectly related to the missing girl. Despite the suspension of the search in 1992, with the police proposing the theory of Amber-Lee drowning, her case remains open. Detective John Keane of Invercargill Police currently leads the investigation. A lot of theories have been put forward. Most, if not all, have been investigated to some extent, stated John Keane. These theories have been categorized into three groups: the possibility of her disappearance in the lake, on land, or involving human interference. Chasing a ghost. According to John, the notion that a random individual came to Kingston that day and abducted Amber-Lee seems improbable. No strangers were reported by anyone in town, and at least 15 vacationers were on the beach at the time, all in plain sight. Someone would have surely noticed a stranger trying to take the girl from the driveway of the house, John reasoned. However, he acknowledged that circumstances could align in such a way that Amber-Lee might have been taken by someone in Kingston. The detective continues to ponder the why, and how did they manage to cover their tracks. While John considers this case the most challenging in his career, one thing he is certain of is that Amber-Lee could not have ended up in Lake Wakatipu. Detective Keane reported that the initial group of divers sent there over the weekend found nothing due to adverse weather conditions. However, a second search of the lake was conducted by a police dive team in November. Conditions were almost perfect. The water in the lake was very clear, and the search conditions were good, explained Detective Keane. They focused on an area approximately 80 meters from the shore, where the water depth ranged from 12 to 15 meters. The visibility was so clear that the bottom was visible even without diving. Nicola or James. Despite these efforts, if Amber-Lee's disappearance is unrelated to the lake, the question remains: where is she? The possibility of getting lost and falling on a hillside seems unlikely, as she would have likely been discovered in the evening or the following day. Over the years, various theories have been explored by the police, including accidental victim of a traffic accident, negligent homicide, kidnapping for sale, or revenge for past sins of Nicola or James. At one point, we focused intensely on Nicola and James, suspecting their involvement due to past drug dealings and debts, Detective Keane disclosed. However, upon thorough examination, we concluded that they had no connection to Amber-Lee's disappearance. A different angle. Offering a different perspective, former Detective Warwick Walker, who investigated the case in the 1990s, shared his thoughts. Despite being retired for over 15 years, the mystery of Amber-Lee still lingers in his mind. This is the most baffling case I've worked on in my 20-plus years on the force, remarked Walker. I've encountered some strange and difficult cases, but none that couldn't be solved. The disappearance of a 2-year-old girl during the day in such an open and visible location is something beyond the realm of the supernatural, in my opinion. The most plausible scenario is that she was abducted, possibly by more than one person, asserts Walker. Alternatively, she could have gotten lost and fallen into a hole somewhere. Considering Kingston's history as an old mining town, there are still holes in the ground. It's conceivable that searchers might have overlooked a small crevice. How much space does a child need? I won't stop. Nicola declares many times has envisioned receiving a call from a police officer saying, "We've found Amber-Lee." Almost. One day she did get a call, but it turned out to be a false alarm. They had found bones in the lake, only to discover they belonged to a sheep. As Nicola approaches her 55th birthday, she expresses a simple desire to know where her daughter is. Justice is no longer the primary focus. While she would like to see the person responsible brought to justice, Nicola's ultimate dream is for Amber-Lee to come home. Such a reunion wouldn't erase decades of agonizing waiting, but it would bring peace to Nicola and her sons. She has lost count of the flyers distributed, the miles traveled, and the public appeals for information about her daughter's whereabouts. I'd hate to think that 25 years from now, when I'm 80, I'll still be sitting in a rocking chair, pondering that day. I'm afraid my heart can't take it, admits Nicola. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.